Hey, friends, welcome to another edition of the show. I'm Joe, and let me give you a number right out of the chutes here. 96%. That's what we're going to start with. 96%. That's the percentage of courses at La Roche University that include like real world experiential learning. At the national average, it's half of that. It really is.
Yeah.
And the pure Catholic institution average, it's around 56. So La Roche is doing things at 96% that the sector is barely doing at 56. And they rank number one for this thing that I want to talk about a bunch called social mobility in the greatest city on the planet, Pittsburgh, in the process. I've been professionally persistent. I've been so patient to get this fine human on the show. And today is our lucky day. Dr. Christina Clark, president of La Roche University. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Joe. I'm excited to be here.
So 2 years in, right?
2 years
Can you
in.
believe it? What is it actually like to be you right now?
It's very busy, but also I'm loving my job. I'm loving serving as president of La Roche University and being able to ensure that we live our mission and our core values to the best degree possible so that we can equip our students with this transformative education that allows them to build lives of purpose and succeed in their chosen careers and to work towards peace and justice in their communities.
And we've had just numerous college presidents and superintendents, but from the higher ed world, we've had 2 year institutions that are very head down into the technical world.
Mhm.
We've had universities that have much more of a liberal focus, and I think that's you're coming from the liberal arts, and I was a 4 year
Yeah.
liberal arts guy that had a chance to discover, during that time
Mhm.
what really lit me up. And so I think that mission, the values that you have there, that's something I want to unpack a little bit. I think that what makes this really interesting is most universities in this country build their entire identity around a single question. And it's a really
Mm.
hard question today. How many students can we keep out?
Oh,
It's that big fat filter, right? LaRoche asks a different question. What is that?
we want to ensure that this type of higher ed is available to
Mm.
students. We want to be as accessible as possible. We are not about exclusion, we are about inclusion. And so that's why I came in, and it was important to me to implement direct admission so that students who meet our requirements for admission are admitted. And they know that. And they know they're welcome. They meet our standards. We want them. And this is something that has been successful for us. And it's a way to live our core values.
I'm wondering what comes to mind. I'm wondering what the beat on the street is from the new president that came in 2 years ago, and if in some maybe some mindsets you've lowered the bar a little bit. I was a high school principal back in the day that took all the
Mhm.
prereqs out of the higher end courses because same thing. I didn't want to preclude anybody from taking a course that they felt that they were ready for, but it really created some healthy tension, conflict on
Mm.
campus. Have you felt some of the same?
Well, people misunderstand. Through direct admission, through self-reported grades and things like on niche, um, we tell students, you have met our admission standards. We would like you to come to La Roche. You have been admitted, even though you haven't applied. So they still meet our GPA requirement. We
Okay.
took away our testing requirement because some people are not good test takers. So that is not, and we know that high school GPAs are much better predictors of success in college than somebody's performance on a standardized test.
Sure.
So we're just eliminating barriers that are unnecessary to students. And, I went to an elite institution that was geared toward keeping people out, Georgetown. back when it wasn't quite as exclusive as it has become. But the education I got there was certainly fine.
Right.
But it's not because it's kept out so many students. So I'm very much against that kind of elitist attitude. Our students get a fine education here.
Fantastic, fantastic. If you think about, U.S. News has built $1 billion ranking
Oh
empire
yeah.
on just that selectivity, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's just alumni giving, right? It's
Hmm.
graduation rates of graduates that are going to graduate anyways. Here's my
Yeah.
theory in working across this sector. I think the harder your students are to serve, the more the system almost punishes you for
Yes.
serving them. That's a bold statement, but I think you're living that reality. And LaRoche ranks number one in Pittsburgh for that thing called social mobility. What does that even mean?
Social mobility is enabling students to rise up in terms of salary and opportunities from what their parents had. I mean, this is in essence what my own family
Yeah,
experienced. My parents were first generation college students in their families. Their parents were the first, high school graduates. And so then, of course, my sisters and I all have advanced degrees. So it's that social mobility that, basically immigrant groups undergo. We were Irish immigrants back in the day and others. So that idea that was true in the past, that each generation can move up in terms of social and economic mobility, and that expectation really is no longer there. The economy has changed, the world has changed,
right.
and yet we can still provide an education that enables students to still move up from their sometimes very you're born into a circumstance, you're born into a certain neighborhood, and the way we fund K-12 I really object to, which is based on property taxes. So you're talk about a rigged system. If you're born into a
Can
certain,
you please say that again and say it louder
yeah,
for the people way back there?
exactly, it is so
Seriously.
fundamentally unfair and unjust
It's
that,
un-American. Can I just say it's un-American?
yes, it's
If we go
un-American.
right back to the original all things America, it's un-American. And I live
Absolutely.
in a state that is, educationally friendly, but also very much dependent on how
Mhm.
much property tax
Yes.
base is right there. I spent time a couple of days ago in New York, same thing, the entire state of New York. And you think
Mhm.
about the disparity there between,
Huge.
just different sectors of even New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that tell you about the rankings and how wrong these rankings happen to be for our youngsters that are going to take over our world someday?
Exactly. So at La Roche, we want to, we do have admission standards. We want to meet our students where they are and enable them to develop their skills and their talents, to create, well, to give them what they need to thrive in our world today, and to really equip them to create the lives that they want to have, lives of meaning and purpose and
Mm.
success in their chosen careers, and to earn family supporting wages.
Well, you definitely, I don't know if the word is obtuse. You are not the standard profile of a president as I look at where you came from. You you
Hmm.
you come from classical literature, ancient Greek poetry, Roman texts,
Hmm.
gender and nonverbal communication in
Yeah.
antiquity. Most are coming from a dean, the classic PhD program that just came from within the system, either on the academic affairs side or the student affairs side. But you've got this real rich tapestry of what you bring to the role. What I wonder is how does that influence and impact the decisions that you make from that
Yeah.
chair, and the influence that you have? Tell me about that.
Well, I think the ancient world is very much like our own. It's multicultural. It dealt with all sorts of problems, from wars that bring society back to like the Stone Age. You know how we used to say that to bomb someone back to the Stone Age? That sort of thing happened in the Bronze Age in the Aegean. And then, of course, you have the invention of democracy, you have the Roman Empire, and all their negotiation with others. The Carthaginians, the big wars, and yet they were a very multicultural society. And you learn a lot from
Mm.
studying that. And you learn a lot from ancient literature about how to be a human being and the challenges that are there, regardless of what culture and time into which you are born. Um, and I think just studying those things, I developed a high attention to detail in learning Latin and Greek and the modern languages. You have to have that, but also you have a breadth of systems thinking because the
Mhm.
ancient worlds were systems. So I think my intellectual background has prepared me well for a presidency. And I think my upbringing focused on service and ethics.
You grew up in a military family, right?
I grew up in a military
And you
family.
traveled
Yes.
all over. You didn't really have a home. You had places that you would do
Yeah.
your thing, but, what did that perpetual, dislocation require you to understand, if that's a word, that most
Hmm.
people in your seat have been kind of fixed and understand maybe one worldview, but you've seen not only the classical literature side,
Hmm.
classically trained, but also this global worldview. I can't
Yeah.
imagine how rich and just how positive, just that positivity that you bring to. We can track this back. Let me show you
Yeah.
where we're at right now that makes no sense. I wish I could just sit at your feet and just
Oh.
hear about honestly about okay where we're at today and what we might hope for because this has been played out before.
Yeah. Well, I think I feel very privileged to have grown up in a military family.
Mm,
It develops in you resilience because you are moving every few years and you have to be able to adapt to a culture quickly. You have to be able to make friends quickly. Um, that's easier when you're in the military because children are very open because they're moving every couple of
right, right.
years too. So it was one of the hardest things was to move back into the civilian world in later elementary school where children are not very they were not very nice and welcoming because they had lived in one place and you were a stranger. And so that was hard,
Mm.
but also good because I learned a lot from that. And I also was able to when my father, after he served in Vietnam, we were sent to the Philippines for a couple of years, 2.5 years, and that enabled me to really see another culture
Yeah.
and to understand that the American way was only one way and not the only way. And that I found so valuable and to experience in some small degree.
Hey, friends, quick question before we get back to it. I know that you have talented people on your leadership team, but is your team actually performing to its full potential? Most aren't, and most don't know why. The Team Intelligence Assessment is a solution to change that. Find out where your team stands at higherperformancegroup.com. Go to find your starting point to get started today, or click the QR code in the screen right here. All right, back to the show.
Um, Prejudice against us as Americans. And when you're 8 and 9 years old and people are shouting at you and throwing stones at your school bus, saying, "Hey, Joe, go home."
Mm,
Like, why do they hate us? We're kids and we haven't done anything. And so our parents explaining colonialism and the experience of Filipinos and why they might hate people from Spain or the United States.
right, right.
And that was a wonderful thing to learn and to it's a real growth opportunity. So it wasn't wonderful to experience, but it was wonderful in the effect it had on me to grow, and enlarge my viewpoint so that I could have empathy and understand people who experience real prejudice, in other ways for other reasons.
And the fact that
So,
you
yeah.
have a high percentage of international students on your campus
Yes.
who might not quite to that degree face some of the challenges that you faced back as a child, but you can look at them with a lens that says, I see you, and I
Yes.
kind of understand where you're because I stood in a different country and had some of the same
Mhm.
dynamics and tried to understand it at the same time. So I would imagine that
Yeah.
empathy, that heart-based empathy that you have for all of your international students is quite unique.
It's, I think it really helps, and they know that they are, a big part of our mission and that we
Mm.
value them. They bring so many great things to campus, and they enable our domestic students to learn from them. They learn from each other and they grow. And that is something that, makes our community better.
I was looking through your supports and services and stumbled across this thing called the Solve Center. And I screech, just stopped and went, "Oh, anything with the word solve in it,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of problems." And I hope that we are equipping our this generation to be able to effectively help us, create a new arc of possibility. So tell me about the Solve Center and what is it doing?
Yes, the Solve Center is the mechanism by which we run a lot of our work-based experiential learning. Our students do a lot of experiential learning from the minute they hit campus in our core liberal arts curriculum. Um, Service and service learning is embedded, where they have to research a problem in our community and they have to do service at that organization, be it around human trafficking
Mm.
or food and housing insecurity, that kind of thing. And then they work to on projects to help those organizations. So that's what they do in their first year in core classes. Then the Solve Center comes in when they're in their majors, and the businesses in our community or nonprofits will come to us and they want a particular problem solved for their business or
So
nonprofit.
it's not just a theoretical,
No.
let's get your critical thinking skills sharpened here a little bit. There's an actual outcome that somebody's expecting your students
Yes.
to provide a tactical solution to a real world problem in your community.
Absolutely. So, for example, a nonprofit will come and they want to engage Gen Z, and so they want a social media campaign designed for them.
Ah,
And so the students will work in groups on that. And then at the end, they will give a presentation to the leaders of that organization or business, and they will pitch. Here's what we designed here, for
mm.
your problem. And then the business or nonprofit owners will pick the one that they want to use. And the Solve Center funds what the students need to create these solutions. So I've been invited to a number of those presentations, and it's so impressive.
If I ever had the opportunity to visit the campus, that would be my
Yeah.
first stop, is to
Yeah.
show me the Solve Center. I think it should be the epicenter, right,
Yeah.
in every campus across the United States. Uh, La Roche serves students who can't afford really to make a wrong choice. You've got a lot of
Yes.
need-based aid.
Hmm.
64% are on need. If the work you're doing just goes a little bit sideways, your students can't afford to miss. Right,
Yeah.
just the demographic math doesn't cooperate with the mission. What does it actually mean for students sitting in front of you? Just that sense of responsibility.
It's what motivates us to
Yeah.
ensure that La Roche continues. I hear from students what we call their La Roche stories, and these are students who grew up in disadvantaged circumstances, and they were tracked into Votech. Talked to a couple of them who went to the same school, and they were both in years of carpentry classes, and yet carpentry was not where their hearts lay. They found La Roche, they were admitted to La Roche, and we are really committed to meeting them where they are and enabling them through the work-based experiential learning, through work study jobs, through their student government or sports. They all talk about how they were empowered to become leaders and to discover what we in Catholic higher ed will call their vocation, like
Vocari.
what their purpose, what are they being
Yes.
called to
Yes.
do with their
No.
lives.
So important. So, where in life have we ever had a place where that was just like a condition was created for us
Yeah.
to go deep into that? And you think of how many people on the planet right now are just kind of wandering around because they have not
Yes.
had this experience.
Exactly. And I
Good
think
on
with
you.
all of, they talk about how we now live in the attention economy. And
Mm,
these students have grown up with just the assault of social media and the competition for their attention. One thing we're embedding in our core curriculum going forward is vocation discovery. And not a religious vocation necessarily, but
yeah.
this discovery of purpose and trying to link their values with the type of lives they want to live, and both what types of jobs they would like and what else would they like to do with their lives. And I think they don't have that quiet, centered
Mm,
time to. Those are deep questions, and there aren't easy answers. So we're creating that space for them, and it might confirm their choice of major. It might change their choice of major, and that's all for the good.
my arguably, my theory on that is it might be the most important experience
Mhm.
of their lives that
Yeah.
might not be necessarily career focused because it
Right.
just sets the foundation for all things.
I
My
agree.
lens for how I raise and build a family, my
Yes.
lens for what my hobbies and interests might be, instead
Right.
of what role models said I should be involved in. That's the beauty of the work that I get
Hmm.
to do, is to be able to see what isn't and help other people to see. It's almost,
Yeah.
I'll I'm not going to give it the wordage that it needs, but it's the sculptor that others are asking, right? What are you building, right? And
Hmm.
most people just see that they're just clinking on brick or clinking on a piece of cement, but
Yeah.
the artist can see what they're building. And I think if you give
Yeah.
somebody that imagery of this
Yes.
is your preferred future, this is you, it sets this thing in motion that it's beyond words. There's a depth to that in terms of just the overall impact to a life worth wanting. Mm,
Yes. And really, that we present them with an array of opportunities. And I always tell them I want them to mindfully design their lives, because if you don't mindfully do it, you're still doing it.
yeah,
And it may not be going in the direction that will fulfill you or make you happy. Um, so that I feel, I agree with you, Joe, is so
yeah,
vital that our students are given that time and space and opportunity to do that with their peers and advisors, and realize that, hopefully their lives will be long,
yes.
and you can do more than one thing in your life. Careers can branch off and go in ways you've never expected. And of course, who knows
Beyond
what types of
imagination.
jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you are open to it. If you I
Yes.
love the mindfulness versus the mindset. I think mindset, Carol Dweck, wonderful book, all good things for the last 2 decades, but there's something I think um, next level about mindfulness that you just
Yeah.
talked about. We've gone deep, but we're running out of time, and I do want to
Yes.
get to a lightning round here. We take some of these superhuman things that you've talked about, and we just ground it back into just the amazing human that you are. So I've got a few questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, buckle up. How about the worst advice? We're starting with this one. The worst advice that you've ever received in leading people.
I don't think I've gotten much advice in my life about leading people. Um, Yeah, I don't think I can give you anything on that, Joe.
Fantastic. Then you've surrounded yourself with amazing people. So I want just let's invert that. What's some of the best advice that you've heard in leading people?
Well, I think the best advice I ever got is from my dad, Colonel Stephen T. Clark, who, from the time my sisters and I were very small, he tried to empower us like we could do anything we wanted to do. But he would also say he knew life was hard. Don't let the bastards get you down. And
Boom.
so that has gotten me through a lot of bad times.
If there's a hit single that's going to come out of this, that is it right there. How about an unpopular opinion that you are just really eager to defend?
I think now the liberal arts are more important than ever. They develop in our students the human skills that have always been important, the critical thinking, the ability to work in teams, the ability to analyze, um, to communicate
Yeah.
effectively. Always important, but never more so now with the rate of technological change. That is what, when people are now at age 21 coming out of a college, education expected not just to problem solve, but to frame problems,
Right,
which is
right,
a
right.
higher order thing. So, yes, the liberal arts are more important than ever in terms of not just life, but work.
All right, all things Pittsburgh. Steelers or the Pirates?
Steelers.
Did I say it right?
Well, I guess they say it's Stillers here. I still say Steelers. That's how you know I'm from out of town. But you did it better than I did.
How about something that you've changed your mind about recently?
Well, I have been, because I have sort of a stressful job in my reading for pleasure, tended to focus on things that were sort of light and you didn't have to think deeply about them. My daughter's an avid fiction reader, and she's always recommending books to me that are about serious and heavy
Mm,
topics. And I decided I would read a book she recommended. It's called Land, and it's just out now from an author. His name is Maggie. I can't remember her last name off the top of my head. It is a wonderful book about Ireland, and Irish history is full of heartrending events,
mm.
but it is so beautifully written that I'm really happy to be reading such gorgeous and haunting prose.
Name that book one more time.
Land.
Land. That should land. That should
Yes.
land. Yes. How about a decision that you've made in this role that you'd make 10 times over again?
I made the decision a year ago that we were going to really lean into our the part of our mission where we are forming global citizens.
Mm,
International education has been very important for La Roche's mission and our core values to create justice and peace, forward that in the world. So we have really doubled down on and expanded our global education.
fantastic. Is there a word or a short phrase for LaRoche's future?
Bright.
I love that. How about
Yes.
this one? If you weren't a college president, what would you be doing?
I would hope to be writing fiction. I don't know if I could do it as beautifully as the author of Land, who also wrote Hamnet, which is another popular book that became a movie. But I have a number of ideas for fiction books that I would love to pursue when I retire.
I can't wait to get my hands on one of those. Is there an easy question you would have for me?
Well, I don't know if it's easy or not, but given that you talk to so many leaders and you are focused on creating systems where good leadership happens despite who might be the overall leader, can you identify an overall vibe in this time from all of that work and discussions?
Mm, yeah, I wish it were a major chord, but it's a minor chord right
Okay.
now. I'm a musician, so it's just
Yeah.
this we're not quite there yet. There's something brewing. It's
Mhm.
we're trending the right direction. There's still hope, but there's just a lot of tumult. There's a lot of
Mhm.
unnecessary noise within the system right now that is unfortunately, I think, inhibiting a lot of really good decision making, because we don't make very good decisions when we're gripped with
Yeah.
fear. We can't be, a lot of campuses have innovation as their vision or
Yeah.
their values or their beliefs, but it's really hard to be innovative today.
Yeah.
That's just, if there's a vibe, that's the vibe. I think we're kind of in this liminal space of great hope on one side, but it's kind of some angst and leading off the back foot on the other, just wondering, can we get through this?
Yeah. Leading through uncertainty
Mm,
is something that we all started honing skills on when COVID hit,
yeah.
and we're still honing.
Yeah, would echo back a number of leaders that I've bumped into recently that have said the last 18 months have been harder than actually
Yeah.
leading through COVID, but they
Yeah.
can't put their finger on it. I think it's really a culmination. It's it's just it's acquiring so much of this, what one time was VUCA, right? Just
Yeah.
volatility, uncertainty,
Yeah.
confusion, ambiguity. It's moved into just a very brittle. Things are really brittle, and people are anxious. And how do you
Yes.
lead through this nonlinear space where we used to
Hmm.
be able to do this protocol, but that doesn't work as well anymore, just because of that. So it takes
No.
kind of a new set, a mindfulness type leader, right, to be able to be successful in all of that.
Yeah.
I so appreciate you finally coming on the show. I know you've been just racing, and many people have given you some
Yes.
good advice saying, hey, pace yourself, Christina, pace yourself.
Yes.
You're a world changer, and I can tell that you've just been on fire these last couple of days or a couple of years. And the lesson that I pulled from this is to just be mission centered, to understand
Yes.
your values, and that you don't perform your values, you live your
Yes.
values. It just becomes part of who we are. And I know that you're building an exceptional team there, and we're just going to keep you on the watch to see what continues to trend in all the right directions in modeling that way. If they want to learn more about Roche, where would they go?
laroche.edu or
Okay.
my LinkedIn profile.
There it is. There it is. Thank you again. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. That's the show. Peace.
Thank you, Joe.